Let's be real for a second. A lot of us don't do Etsy full time. In fact, a lot of us have started selling on Etsy because of how doable it is as a side hustle to earn some extra income, right? But that means that a lot of us have tons of other responsibilities outside of Etsy. Maybe you come home from a 9 to 5, maybe you're a full-time parent, maybe you've been sitting in front of a computer all day and it feels like the last thing you want to do is open up a laptop again and start designing a new print-on-demand or digital product to list on Etsy. I get it. And sometimes the energy, motivation, or creative inspiration just isn't there. Your brain's running on empty, and that's normal. Now, I'll admit, it's very tempting to just say, forget it, and crash on the couch, scroll social media, or put on Netflix. And honestly, that's totally fine. Sometimes you need that downtime. But for me personally, when I lose hours to scrolling or playing mobile games, later on, I feel really guilty. Like I'm internally scolding myself for wasting time on non-revenue generating activities and that I should have done at least something for my shop. Is that just me? Is that a symptom of being a bit neurospicy? Or do you feel that way too? Here's the thing though. Growing a shop on Etsy really does take consistency. But consistency doesn't mean being at 100% all the time. It doesn't mean adding 10 new listings every day. That's just not realistic. And it's not sustainable. And we're not robots. So what do I do on those low energy days when I don't have the brain power to create something new for my Etsy shop? Well, what I do is I try focusing on small, doable actions that keep the needle moving forward. And while they might feel inconsequential in the moment, they compound over time. Hi, I'm Jai. I've been an Etsy seller for over a year now, and today I'm sharing 5 low-effort strategies that help me grow my Etsy shop, even when I don't have the energy to design or launch new listings. And spoiler alert, it's not watching more YouTube videos. It's taking small, consistent action. Let's get into it. Let's be honest. Sometimes research is boring. But this boringness is what makes this task easier because it doesn't even require you to do anything. Just absorb. When I don't feel like designing, I'll spend a few minutes doing keyword research or trend spotting. Tools like Everbee or Allura can even make this so much easier because of the data that they reveal. They can even show you how your competition is doing. So sometimes I'll just scroll through bestsellers in my niche, not to copy, but to see what kinds of styles or colors are resonating. Are people leaning towards minimalism right now? Are people using more cursive fonts? Maybe some seasonal themes are popular? These kinds of insights help me when I do have the energy to design. I also take note of interesting keyword phrases that might appear. For example, I have never heard of the terms dark academia and cherrycore before. And these are actual phrases used by buyers to search for products that fit their aesthetic. So these go into my notepad or my mental bank for targeted keywords to add in my future listings SEO. Research doesn't also have to be limited to be on the Etsy website. Try searching on social media for products or aesthetics related to your niche. Is there a trend that's currently blowing up? Maybe some influencer is talking about a new style that everyone should try. This counts as research too. I like to think of this as planting seeds. Research days don't usually produce immediate results, but when I sit down later in the week to finally design my products, I don't waste time staring at a blank Canva page. I already know what direction to go in. So if you're brain dead after work, but you can still scroll, maybe swap out doom scrolling for intentional scrolling on Etsy or even social media profiles in your niche. While I don't use external marketing or social media to promote my Etsy store, there is one exception to that, and that is Pinterest. And it's actually one of the most underrated tools for Etsy sellers. We can spend all our time trying to get found inside of Etsy search with SEO, but Pinterest is an extra outside funnel that can bring completely new traffic straight into your shop. So Pinterest is a search engine. That means pins don't just disappear after a few hours like Instagram stories or TikToks. A pin you put out today can still bring in clicks 6 months from now and even years if it ranks well. Now, I get it. It sounds like too much extra work because if you search for Pinterest tutorials, You might find that people will say that you have to create graphics in a certain dimension, have this new layer of Pinterest specific SEO, and all of that. I'm not saying that these are wrong or a waste of time, but what I do is much simpler. I don't even design elaborate graphics for every pin. Honestly, I just create a board on Pinterest, which is titled after the general category that my products belong in. Then I use the Pinterest Chrome extension right in my browser. Then I can choose one of my listings, and I literally just click on the Pinterest icon on the top of the image, choose the board I want to save it to, and that's it. I do these for the photos that I deem aesthetic enough to belong on Pinterest, if you catch my drift. And this works because Pinterest has a different kind of audience. People go there for wedding planning, home decorating, gift ideas, and they're not just browsing for entertainment. They're planning purchases. That means the traffic you get from Pinterest tends to be very intentional. When you build this habit over time, pinning 1 or 2 listings a week, it compounds. Slowly, you'll have dozens, then hundreds of pins floating around, all linking back to your Etsy shop, and it's like setting up little doorways all over the internet, pointing people back to you. So yeah, it's not an instant explosion of traffic, but it's a long game that builds up in the background. Now let's move on to something that does have more of an immediate effect, and that is adding videos to your Etsy listings. Etsy themselves have said it. Listings with videos tend to perform better. And that's because buyers feel more confident when they can see the product in action. Even if you sell digital products, having a scroll through of what's inside helps people imagine owning it. For digital products, I'll sometimes just screen record myself scrolling through a template really slowly. No voiceover, no editing, just a clean look of what's inside. Now, for my print-on-demand products, of course, I don't have any physical items on hand. So what I use is Allure's video tool. It literally takes your existing listing photos and then turns them into a short 5-second video montage by turning them into a slideshow. I have a more in-depth tutorial which I will link right here and in the description, but it literally takes seconds. And the impact of having videos is huge. For digital products, a video makes your listing feel a lot more tangible. And if you're selling something like a shirt, even a simple montage or slideshow of the design in different color variations can do the trick. That way, when buyers hover over your thumbnail in Etsy search, they immediately see the options and start picturing which one they'd want. A lot of people think that in order to have a good video, you need fancy editing or equipment. But simple videos can do the trick. Even if you're completely drained at the end of the day, just pick one listing and add a video. It's one of the highest leverage but lowest effort moves that you can make in minutes. We all know that the main photo is the billboard of your product. It's the first thing that shoppers see in the search results. And the reality is, no matter how good your product is, if the photo doesn't grab attention, nobody clicks. So another activity I like to do on a low energy day is to pick one or a few listings that hasn't been getting a lot of views and just test a new main photo. Now, if you haven't noticed, Etsy actually changed the way listings appear on search. Previously, the images used to be squares, and now there are these portrait-sized images with a 4:5 ratio. This has seriously messed up the way that a lot of older listings appear, especially if you've been using square or landscape-oriented photos. So if you can fix a few listings up to make sure that the product or information isn't cut off, that would greatly benefit your listings. Another way of fixing your main photo is to use a mock-up with a different context. For example, for your holiday listings, maybe you can use a Christmassy background for a shirt with a Christmas design on it. Or maybe it's even just selecting a different colored shirt as the main thumbnail. And then for digital products, maybe you could showcase the cover and the inside content in a way that feels more valuable to the customers. But if you're too concerned that maybe you don't want to take a huge risk by changing the thumbnail completely, you could duplicate the listing. You can keep the same title, tags, and description if you want, or you could change those too. Then, let them run side by side for a while and see which one gets more clicks. This is a way to A/B test without having to create a whole new product. And it's actually interesting to see how much of a difference the main photo makes. I've had listings go from barely any clicks to suddenly selling just because the main thumbnail image was changed. Your other listing photos aren't just there to look pretty. Not a lot of customers bother to read your product description, so it's up to your listing photos to step up and provide your customers much more information as possible so that they can feel confident enough to click add to cart. That's why you're given 10 image slots. They're not just for displaying 10 different shirt colors. These are actually windows of opportunity to really close the sale. And honestly, I think this is even more important than perfecting your SEO. So here's a simple exercise you can do on a low energy day. Pull up one of your listings and put yourself in the buyer's shoes. Ask yourself, what questions might they have about this product? What features or benefits might actually not be clear from browsing the photos? What hesitations can they have about purchasing the product? And what information can I provide to handle these objections? Once you identify these gaps, you can create a supporting photo to answer them. This could be an infographic image that lists the key benefits, maybe an FAQ-style image that explains the shipping, returns, or personalization. It could be a close-up image highlighting details that might not be obvious at first glance, and so on. The image doesn't even have to have an overcomplicated design. In fact, having a simple design would get these pieces of information across even more clearly. Now, I'm not saying that you should have to go back and revamp every single listing. Of course, that would be overwhelming, and today we're just focusing on small steps. Instead, you could start by adding these new images to your future listings, so that every new product is just a little more polished than the last. Or if you want a quick win, go and find those listings that have a lot of views and favorites but aren't converting into sales. Those are prime candidates for an upgrade. And sometimes that one extra image is all it takes to tip someone over the edge and click checkout. Remember, your buyers can't touch or hold your product yet, so your listing photos are their shopping experience. The more confidence you can give them through these images, the better your chances are of making the sale. So there you have it. 5 small low-effort actions you can take to keep your Etsy shop moving forward, even when you're tired, uninspired, or just don't have the energy to create new listings. And I want to leave you with a little productivity tip that I learned from one of my favorite YouTubers. Sometimes 5 minutes is enough. Here's what I mean. Pick one of these actions and just commit to trying it for 5 minutes. Maybe it's pinning something to Pinterest. Maybe it's adding a quick video. Maybe it's swapping out a thumbnail, or doing a little research, or creating one extra listing photo with more information. If you're still exhausted and unmotivated after 5 minutes, that's totally fine. You gave it a shot, and you can rest guilt-free. On this channel, we believe our mental and physical health always comes first. But if after those 5 minutes, you start to feel a spark of energy, ride that wave. Keep going while the momentum's there, and before you know it, maybe it's 12 a.m. and you're already on your 5th new shirt design for the day. I hope you found these strategies useful, and if you did, please boop that like button for me. It really helps push this video out to more people who might need it. If you want more tips like this, make sure you subscribe because I share what I'm learning in real time as I grow my own Etsy shops, and hopefully it helps you grow yours too. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.